Buenos dias, amigos. This is Large Man Abroad, and today we're going to have a special talk. I get comments all the time from people who want to go live abroad, but they don't think that they're in the place to do it. And the question is, do you have to be rich to move abroad? Do you have to be rich to kind of go out and start a new life somewhere else? And if there's one thing that I want you to understand by the end of this video is no. You don't have to be rich to go live abroad. You don't have to be rich to retire abroad. You don't have to be rich to do that kind of move. A normal person can do it. Whether you're on a fixed income or not, it's something that is really within everyone's reach. And I think today we're going to talk about that a little bit. And today we have a special guest. As you can see, we are joined by our channel's mascot. This is Logan. I'm sure you guys have seen him once or twice, but he's going to be helping us with this conversation today. The first thing we really need to talk about is kind of just break down these barriers that you have with yourself, these doubts, whether it's something that you can do or something that you can't do, or you should or you shouldn't. First, yes, you should move abroad if that's something you want, especially if you're moving towards retirement age. And I'm going to tell you why. Retiring in America is, number one, it's becoming more difficult day by day as taxes and the cost of insurance go up on property. At the end of the month, your residual income, if you have any, is getting less and less and less as that's getting eaten away by those costs. And for many people, it's forced them to sell their homes and to downsize to more rural, cheaper communities where if they do have to go to work again because they can't afford to stay retired, then they're kind of forced to take lower paying jobs. And the cycle of always being in employment is just a fixture of life that will never go away. But you still have a chance to retire. And although that chance might be dwindling in the States, you can do it abroad. It's still an option. And I think that it's not just an option, it's an opportunity. Wow, that sounds like a sales pitch. Listen, it's not as expensive as you think. And let's say, because a lot of you who watch my channel, or let's be honest, you're a bit on the older side. And if you are on a fixed income, if you are on Social Security, in America, it's very difficult. You know, if you're making, I think the average is $1,900 a month in Social Security. That's what the average payment is. If you're making a little bit more than that, then great, because that definitely opens up opportunities for you. Now, with that said, if you make less than that, if you make $1,500, $1,200, does that mean that you're priced out of that dream of going and moving abroad, retiring on a tropical beach somewhere? No, it doesn't. It can make visas more difficult. And that's really the only barrier that I think really scares a lot of people away. But I don't think that it should. Like I said, it just lowers your options of places that you can go and live, but that doesn't mean that you can't stay there for an extended period of time. If you've been watching this channel long enough, then you've known that, you know, we're going to end up back in the Mediterranean, more likely Greece. Now, to have a retirement visa there, you need to have around $3,200 to $3,500 a month. You need to be able to show that you can have that steady income, and you can get a 2-year visa there, and you can just renew it. You know, you don't have to get a golden visa that's, you know, $500,000. You can effectively retire and live in these places. Now, Greece is an expensive one, but there are cheaper ones out there. So don't think that, you know, price and visas really lock you out of really what you want. Now, if you do make around that $3,200 to $3,500, and it looks like the revised number, you'd be looking about $3,600, $3,700. Yes, that is a bit pricey. But for those of you out there who are either digital nomads or you know, you're retired and you have a fixed income and a pension, then Greece does become an option for a financially independent visa. And it's really simple. It's really easy to get. And you have to get it when you're in your home country by going to an embassy or consulate. Process takes a couple weeks. There's really no hoops or anything. You just kind of go and get it done. And then when you go to Greece, you're good for 2 years. You just got to check in to the, I believe it was Ministry of Immigration, get an identification card and tax ID, and bam, you're good. And you're good. It's as simple as that, really. And that opens up the opportunity to get cheaper housing, because the longer of a lease that you can actually sign on a property, the cheaper it's going to be, just like anywhere else, really. But very much makes a huge difference, especially in a place like Greece, where if you go there and you just get an Airbnb, you're going to be looking at like $1,500 to $2,000 a month. But if you're able to rent a place like locals do, you can be looking at anywhere between 600 and 800 euros a month. Doggy. And that can kind of seem expensive still, because you're like, well, isn't Greece a cheap country? Let's say you spend 1,000 euros a month. The cost of living there is so low that even at the end of everything that you spend, your residual income that you have, the extra money at the end of the month, what you have, is still going to be greater than what you would have back in America, even though you're essentially living in a paradise compared to America. And as someone who's lived there and has used this visa, I can tell you that life there can be absolutely beautiful. Now, what if you don't make 3,500 euros a month? What if you are on Social Security and you're right around that average, that $1,900, that $2,000 a month? Well, where can I go from there? I mean, there's still countries, great countries. You know, you don't just have to go to Southeast Asia. You don't have to go to Colombia. You know, what about Spain? Spain is an option. You know, if you're looking to get a visa in Spain, you just need to show that you have an income about 24,000 euros a year. So around $25,000. So if you are making close to, I guess that would be $2,000, $2,100, something like that. You know, you'd still be able to get that. And if you do have like a 401k, if you have a pension, if you have proof of assets, that makes your argument a lot easier to get that visa. And it is fairly simple to get, especially because here's the thing. If you're an American, you have an American passport, that makes the visa process so simple. So if you don't know this channel, my wife is from Turkey, and it's very easy for me to make plans to go places, but at the same time for her, it's quite difficult. Now, it's getting easier because we are married now, but because she has a Turkish passport, it can make it difficult for her to get visas in certain places. But as an American, that's not something you have to deal with. You already have a golden ticket. It's an American passport. And, you know, we really take it for granted just how easy it makes us to actually go out there and travel. So, you know, if you think about living in Spain, and I think that this is kind of the mid ground because, you know, everyone knows, you know, moving to Thailand, moving to the Philippines, you know, you can really do it for just probably around $1,200, $1,500 a month. You can live well in places like that. Infrastructure isn't as good. Those are things that, excuse me. I think a good middle ground like Spain is something really kind of to dig deep on a little bit. And I think that is a great option if you are looking to move or retire to a country outside of the United States for a couple reasons. Number one, like I said, the visa is easy to get and the barrier to entry financially is quite low. It's reasonable, right? So, but you do have to keep in mind that the income that you have, now you can be a digital nomad, you can work at the same time, but the company that you're working for, the entity has to be outside of Spain. So keep that in mind. Going to Spain, think that you're going to work, that's a whole different kind of visa altogether. But for what we're talking about, people who are retired, people who want to be digital nomads, Spain is really a perfect place. Portugal is great, but Portugal is getting really crowded. And Spain's getting crowded too, and there are protests about people moving there, but you know, we all have to do what we have to do, and it doesn't mean that's not a great option and place to be. Now, if you do have that middle ground income, you know, around $2,000, $2,100 a month, and a place like Spain becomes an option to you, understand that the cost of living there is, you know, incredibly low. Most people, I think the national average is like 1,500 to 1,800 euros a month. And, you know, for the most part, at the end of the month, you know, people are able to save up a couple $100s. But if you're coming in with 2,000, maybe you can save up $500, $600 at the end of the month. That's still great. And that's coming in with the assumption that you didn't think that you'd even be able to make it in another country financially. So, you know, it is possible. And you're like, I don't want to take a metro. I don't want to take the train or buses everywhere. You know, I'm in America. I like driving my car. Guess what? You can take your car. The average cost to ship your car to Spain is around $2,000. And once you get there, keep in mind that you're going to have to pay the Spanish government 10% of the car's value and able to register it there. But how great is that? That's really not much. So if your car is around $20,000 and you own it outright, just understand that you're going to have to pay $2,000 to the government, which I think is still reasonable because over time you're going to be saving plenty of money, and it gives you the kind of freedom that you can actually go explore. If you have an American passport, especially, I mean, that opens up the entire EU to you. So you can take your car and you can drive everywhere. You know, you want to go see the Northern Lights? Are you insane enough to take a drive that far? Why not? You know, you can go do that. You can drive to England. You know, you can drive to Germany. You can drive anywhere, really. It's amazing. Like it's amazing the opportunities you have to explore these places once you're actually there. And renting a car is prohibitively expensive. So if you have your own vehicle, and if you're already retired and you don't have to worry about working, I mean, you could really just spend the rest of your life exploring and not necessarily have to worry about the finances anymore. Because like I said, in America, it's getting to the point where retirement is almost becoming a dream to a lot of people. So the best way to mitigate that fear would be to move to one of these places. And like I said, a good middle ground country financially, like Spain, might be a good option for you. And so now you might be interested, and you actually want to know how much it costs to live in the cities. Maybe you want to live in Madrid, Seville, Barcelona, or even Granada. So let's just have a look real quick on what it costs to actually live and have an apartment in one of these cities in Spain.
¿Cuánto pagas por tu renta?
Yo pago 540 sin gastos y vivo en un piso compartido, somos 4.
Y 900 casi 1000 euros en lo que es Chamartín, más o menos el centro de Madrid, que está muy bien conectado con tren y metro.
Vivo en Morataras y vivo en un piso compartido con 3 otros chicos. Pago 420 euros al mes y tengo una habitación de 14 metros cuadrados.
So as you can see, a place like Spain is definitely a place that you can live within a nice, friendly budget, especially if you're around that average on Social Security, if you have a pension, or if you're a digital nomad just starting off and you're making around a poverty wage in America, you can go to Spain and live a good life. These things are possible, and you don't have to be rich to do it. You can move there, you can live that dream, you can do it. It is affordable. You're like, well, what if I'm paying 800, 900 euros a month? Because maybe you don't want a roommate. Maybe you don't want to pay 400 euros a month and live with someone else. Now, if you're on the younger side, yes, that's definitely a possibility. That's definitely something that you might want to think about doing. But if you're older, in general, you want your own space. I understand that. I have a family. I don't want to be renting with another person. Yeah, spider. So you have to think, if I do spend $800-900 a month, I mean, what does that leave me? Because don't I also have groceries? Don't I have to pay for that? Because groceries in America, they're like $200 a week. So that's like $800, $900, $1,000 a month for me to feed myself. God forbid I have a family. Well, what then? I can tell you from personal experience that you'll be paying about 25% of what you would for groceries in the States. In Greece, we would basically spend about $50 to $100 a week, and we ate whatever we wanted. Now, that doesn't include us going out, but typically with us going out to restaurants, you'd be looking at about $25, $30, to feed both of us. And we don't drink, so it doesn't include that, but drinks are typically fairly cheap as well. So the affordability is still there. Now, sticking at Spain, because we're still looking at that kind of mid-range for what most people can afford, around that $2,100, $2,200 a month price range. Let's look about what groceries cost for a single person going to the grocery store in Spain.
A lot of you have been asking about the grocery prices in Spain, so let's go grocery shopping together. Now let's remember that the euro is $1.08. I use Greek yogurt a lot, so that's going to be $1.79. 99 cents, $2.49 for this whole thing of blueberries. Pre-packaged salad with tuna, $2.39. Some oats, 89 cents. €4. Maybe you need a lot, 10. Spinach, 115. Zero sugar chocolate versus the sugar. Bell peppers for $2.69 per kilogram. The almond milk is $1.25, and you can get a whole pizza for $2.39. And there you have it, the craziest thing of all, one bottle of red wine for 99 cents. I didn't get everything I showed because I didn't need all of it, but there is your total, $17.63.
So you do have to keep in mind that a lot of the prices when you're looking at grocery stores in Europe, that a lot of the things are going to be priced out in kilos. So you're like, well, that looks about the same price as it is in America. But the fact is, you're looking at less than half the cost, because a kilo is 2.2 pounds per kilo. But if you are like me and you don't necessarily like shopping at grocery stores, understand that most countries, especially in the Mediterranean, but around the world, typically have street markets, bazaars, things like that, where you can go get your produce, your cheeses, your eggs. Even butchers show up there. You can get fresh meat, and it's always going to be a lot cheaper than it would be at a grocery store, because you have packaging markups, the transportation and tax that come with more international items. But if you do shop more locally, you can expect more local prices. And not only is it going to be better on your wallet, but it's going to be far better for your health. And that goes into another thing completely. Like, another reason why you should think about retiring abroad is you're probably going to add some years onto your life. Now, if you go somewhere and you're like, well, I have a little bit of extra income, I don't have anybody watching me, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drink my life away. Yeah, you're going to die early. But, if you decide that you want to be healthy, that you want to make your life, fulfilled, and you want to eat healthy, and you want to be healthy, and you want to be fit, The food quality outside of the United States is far better than it is here. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of videos out there that will tell you just how different people feel once they leave the States, or how terrible people feel when they come to the United States and they start to adjust to an American-style diet. The food ingredients that we use in America can be quite toxic and are actually banned in a lot of countries. When you go to Europe and you start eating fresh, you start eating things that came locally, things that were picked when they were ripe, you're getting a lot more nutrients than you typically would with our foods in America. And you start to feel completely different. But as you can see, with the two big concerns, which is feeding myself and putting a roof over my head, it's incredibly affordable. And again, you don't have to be rich. You know, this is normal people stuff. So if you can make about $24,000 a year, then a place like Spain can be a place that you can think about living. And it's a beautiful place. And I've been there a few times myself, and I can tell you that Spanish culture, Spanish people are fantastic people. They're warm, they have their own vibe, which is really specific to them. The food is fantastic, the nightlife is fantastic, and in general, the people are just great. And it's a great place to explore if you have the time. And it is definitely one of the places on our short list for places that my family is going to be moving once we're wheels up here in the States. And again, I kind of want to finish on this. It can be a scary thing to leave your country. It can be, it's going into the unknown. And if it's not something that you're accustomed to, it can be difficult. And like I said, it can be scary, but that doesn't mean that you should hold yourself back necessarily. You should do your research as to where you're going. You should learn about the culture that you're going to. You should learn everything you possibly can to make that transition a lot easier and to mitigate a lot of those anxieties that you might have when it comes to moving to a new place. Some countries are going to be a lot easier to move to than other countries, especially if you're talking about European countries, if you're talking about the Mediterranean. Even some places in South America, some places in Southeast Asia, it's going to be a lot easier for people to transition in a place like the Philippines where everyone speaks English, opposed to a place even like Thailand where English really isn't spoken everywhere. And these are things that you may not know, but you can know them with a little bit of Googling. So make sure that you're doing your due diligence and learning everything about the culture that you plan on moving into, because you're not just moving into a place, you're joining a new community. And though you can move to a place where there's a lot of other Americans, there's a lot of other Westerners, there's a lot of other people who speak your language, at the same time, you're going to be interacting and participating in the culture of the people who are from there, who've been there for generations, hundreds of years, thousands of years, and you need to respect that and be part of it. And I think at the end, what you'll find is that living in or retiring in a foreign country, living abroad, is incredibly rewarding. And like I said, you can nickel and dime yourself in America, and you can squeak out a retirement maybe. You can use food stamps, you can call in favors, and you can, like I said, you can really scrape by. Or you can thrive. You can move to one of these places and absolutely thrive and live every day of your life on an adventure, eating healthy, being in the foreign, experiencing and learning the unknown, fulfilling dreams, really knocking off things on that bucket list. That's something that you can do. You shouldn't hold yourself back. And I think that a lot of us do. And I think that it's a shame. And a lot of the reason that people don't chase that dream of actually moving to that far off country is through fear and judgment and lack of understanding. But like I said, just do your due diligence and do some studying and understand that it's not that difficult. And you don't have to be rich. Now, if you are rich, if you do have plenty of money, then hey, the thing is, you're going to live the exact same life as somebody who's making $3,000, $4,000 a month. If you make $10,000, $20,000 a month, and you live in these places, for the most part, you're going to be doing the exact same thing as somebody who's making $2,000, $3,000 a month. What else are you going to do? You maybe go out on a boat or something, but your day-to-day life is going to look the same. So this is your opportunity to go out there and actually do the things that you'd never actually be able to afford in the States. And you should do it. And I guess there's nothing else to really say. Like I said, the key takeaway from this entire video is you don't have to be rich to move abroad. You don't have to be rich to retire in another country, to retire in a tropical paradise, to retire in the Mediterranean, to retire in Asia, to retire in South America, even to retire in Europe. Africa's booming right now, and people are doing business there, and digital nomads are flying there, and people are learning that the places in Africa have fantastic places to settle down in. And, that's going to be really something in the future. And I want to go travel Africa more myself personally. But get out there and do it. And don't let people hold you back, Logan. And don't let people hold you back, and live the best life you have. And as we always say on this channel, listen, damn the haters, live your best life, lead with empathy. It's a huge world out there, and you should go experience it. And if you do, and if you're planning to do it, and if you've already done it, go ahead and tell us what you've done in the comment section. Tell us what your dreams are. Tell us when you're planning on going. If you have any questions, it's a big community, and if you can help people out, be constructive and be supportive and be positive, because living in America is becoming incredibly difficult. And if you're at that retirement age, or you just want to get out of here, you can still do it, and we should really support each other in our decision to actually go explore this world. So everyone, thank you. Logan, he's over here taking a nap now. He says thank you, and thank you for the support as always. This channel is really becoming kind of important to me, not just as therapy, but actually to push myself to do the things that I hold myself back from doing. So you guys have a good one, and enjoy your weekend, and yeah, we appreciate you. Have a good one.